the challenge has been exacerbated, and I mentioned this in my New Year's video, by technology. The fact that we become so engrossed and addicted to and patterned into spending time on our phones largely, but also on iPads and laptops and so forth, that we become completely submerged in a virtual external world in which we're not truly embodied. I've been really enjoying sitting in the garden, particularly when it's been cold lately. So I thought I'd start recording a few videos from out here, because as you can hear the birds around. You can just hear the sound of nature, which can be quite calming. Today, let us just start, and if you'd like to join in, feel free to do so, by chanting Om a few times. So I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to breathe in slowly, and then on my exhale, I'm going to chant Om. Do this a few times. If you want to join in, close your eyes too, and just see if you can feel into the visceral experience of the Om chant, of the vibration within your body. And then afterwards we'll go into a little bit more of the theory and understanding why chanting something like Om is so beneficial for us in this day and age. Two more. Just notice, or ask yourself the question, how do I feel after I've chanted Om or some kind of peaceful syllable or mantra, maybe 6 or 12 times? How does it feel in my body? How does it feel in my mind? How does it affect the way that I relate to my surroundings? And I can say, even as I sit here recording this video, the act of chanting 6 times has brought a visceral sense, we might say, of feeling calmer, of feeling like every cell in my body feels like it's taken an exhale. It feels like it's taken a moment to just let go and relax. And as a result of that, I feel a bit more present, I feel a bit more grounded, I feel a bit more rooted in this very present moment, and that can never be a bad thing. In the Yoga Sutras of Bhagavan Patanjali, which we talk a lot about on this channel, because they are the foundational sutras or verses or the foundational text of the whole yoga tradition, he talks quite early on in the first chapter, the Samadhi Pada, that he says that what can we do, or what are a few tips, if we want to put it in modern parlance, what are a few tips that can help you and I to calm our minds when they are disturbed? And he gives various tips, but the one that I wanted to mention today is that he tells us that we should chant Om. There are so many reasons why chanting Om is of benefit, and hopefully if you've seen some of the previous videos, you will understand a little bit about that. But one of the things I'd like to focus on today, hopefully for the benefit of all of us listening, is what I've described already in this video as the visceral experience of being internally present at this moment of time. So what we may notice nowadays, or maybe we don't notice it, maybe we're hijacked by the tendency, is that our minds as humans have always wandered externally. That is natural. Through the senses, our awareness and our concentration gravitates externally to notice the world around us. And of course, that's important for us to live spatially, safely, coherently in the world of nature around us. But unfortunately, what tends to happen is that we can get lost in the space of looking for external validation and thinking that by understanding the external, we can somehow bring peace in our lives. The challenge has been exacerbated, and I mentioned this in my New Year's video, by technology. The fact that we become so engrossed and addicted to and patterned into spending time on our phones largely, but also on iPads and laptops and so forth, that we become completely submerged in a virtual external world in which we're not truly embodied. Now, if you were to pay attention the next time that you were scrolling on your phone or deeply immersed in some kind of virtual digital experience, you may notice that your breath gets faster. You may notice perhaps that there's more tension in your body, and that generally there might be a feeling of uneasiness for a lot of us. And for some of us, that is so subtle that we may not even notice it or realize that it's happening. And the Yoga Sutras and yoga in general tell us that in order to be healthy physically, balanced mentally, and grounded spiritually, we need to be deeply in connection with the things inside us. And one of those things is the body. When we lose connection to the sensations in the body, and when we lose connection to what those sensations tell us about, for example, being in a state of thirst, or being in a state of hunger, or being in a state of stress, for example, when we lose connection to those indicators of how we're feeling, it means that those energies will continue to perpetuate within our bodies, within our minds. And over time, those things can accumulate and become chronic in terms of the negative impact that they have on our bodies, on our minds. Now, the beauty, we might say, or I would say, of chanting Om in this respect is that when we chant, if we decide that when we chant, we're going to bring our attention onto the vibration of the sound as it resonates internally. So we're saying we're going to pay attention to the feeling of the chant in our bodies as sensation, the way that the vibrations move through space in our body, the way that the vibrations move through the cells in our body, and so forth. We automatically become embodied. The sound and the vibration, dependent upon how you chant it, can be deeply pleasant, deeply relaxing. And as a result of that, we are incentivized to bring our attention inwards. And then gradually, as we continue to chant, we get more and more connected to the bodily sensations, and in turn, we become more and more detached from or disconnected from the need for our minds to wander externally. And so therefore, in that moment, we have let go of the dependence on the external, and we have grounded ourselves in the reality of embodied experience. And even that, before we go any deeper into our yoga journey, is of huge, huge benefit, as I said before, to physical health, to mental health, to spiritual well-being, because it starts us on the journey inwards, and it starts us creating patterns in the mind that can allow our attention to rest inwards. And one of the main benefits that I found, and that I'm sure you will find too if you practice in such a way over a long period of time, is that we start to invert the way that we relate to the world around us. That is to say, rather than taking all of our cues from the external and trying to act according to the way that society tells us to, or memes or cultural messaging tells us to, we actually start to develop the confidence to know that if I can understand how I'm feeling internally, through connection to that understanding, and through the courage that I can gain from that connection, I can start to act in the world externally according to how I feel internally. And if my goal is to establish myself in mental equanimity and in a state of peace, I can then guide myself through the myriad of challenges that we face in this modern world to ensure that I only undertake actions, speak words that will perpetuate my path on the journey towards peace. So that is why in this first chapter of Bhagavan Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, he tells us explicitly that one of the key methods towards bringing stability in the mind and therefore peace is to chant Om. So let's finish today, again as we started, by chanting Om 6 times. And this time I invite you to spend more of your attention focused on the internal vibration of the chant rather than the external sound. So closing the eyes, breathing in. Om. Breathing in. Om. Inhale. Om. Om. 2 more. Om. Om. And if you choose, you can sit here quietly for as long as you like, just seeing if you can remain in connection with that inner vibration. And then when you move on into the rest of the day, see if you can bring that connection with you. As always, I'm grateful for spending time with you. I hope you found this video useful, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Namaste.